Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. And today we're going to have a look at uranium. Here's the uranium ETF. I'm not going to highlight any of the companies, but more or less all of them were pushing higher today. Cameco, BWTX, Denison, NewScale, and a few others. Really strong move yesterday. They were already in a positive sentiment here. Uranium on a above 60 threshold pushed really strongly higher yesterday's session, and as we can see here, after being hammered a few weeks, well, actually a couple of months ago, it is very close to its all-time highs, and I think it will push higher, especially if we can get the RSI to close above 60 threshold as we speak. Today, Thursday, it is actually above it, and if we're closing around this level and higher, then I think we'll see a new all-time highs on the uranium. The S&P 500, the oil stock market, bounced a little bit, and we are still in this correction phase that could take it a little bit lower here, maybe in the next couple of days, but there's no divergence on the RSI indicating we are likely to see new highs. 5,900 is definitely in the cards, and possibly even 6,000. That would be a big thing if it does that. I'm not quite sure we'll get up to it, but it's at least having its eyes set on it. Nasdaq 100, well, bounced off its support here at 20,041, tested it during this session. Other than that, it was fairly unchanged. If it does close below 20,041, well, there could be a sell-off that push it below 20,000, maybe even down to key strong support, 19,622. But we are in a positive sentiment. We are in a bullish trend, and I think we will slowly crawl higher in the coming days. European market and EUROSTOXX 50 opened lower during yesterday's session and closed just around the just a few pips of 4,907 minor support. There's actually risk now down to 4850. 455, where we have the 100 moving average up here, and the 200 there, and the 55. So it looks fairly heavy at the moment, I must say, but the RSI is still positive sentiment, indicating we could bounce from there. But keep an eye on what's going on. Will it close above or below 49.07? The EUROSTOXX future slash the CFD is under pressure and currently above that level there, and we can actually add a little bit of support. It's not the strongest support, but it is a support line around this 49.05. That's where we're trading at the moment. We could see it dip down to 48.54. DAX was also a little bit weaker in this correction phase here. I think it will test the 38.2 retracement, 19,358. There is divergence on the RSI, so maybe it will be a little bit of struggle to regain its strength and push higher. But if it takes out 19,634, well, then we're looking at 20,000. But for now, expect a little bit of a setback that even could take it down to 19,187. The Amsterdam index is still under pressure after ASML also got sold off during the session yesterday, closed below 895, and now it's going to be interesting here. I will adjust this, and this is what you sometimes have to do. I will adjust this because we have the RSI just above 40 threshold. If it closes below 40 threshold, and if the index closes below 892, it is just a few pips from it. Well, then there is further downside potential to 878. If we're just very quickly looking at the ASML company that got hammered not yesterday, Tuesday, and also lost again yesterday, 635. And if we're looking at the weekly chart, well, we can then see how it is really struggling at the moment, and it looks like it is unfolding that scenario that we talked about yesterday. It's below 857 at the 200 weekly moving average, below minus support there, and there could be further downside potential for the ASML. The CAC 40 index, well, it actually did open below 74.64 but closed above, so it's still holding on, but in a bit of a limbo. So it held on, and if it can stay above, well, then there could be a little bit crawling back higher. So it got a little bit of a lifeline there. The Swiss market, well, it still needs to get back above 12,250 for upside potential. It's really struggling there, so that's going to be an interesting follow the next couple of days. Euro dollar is continuing its downside move and continuing after breaking 108.80 and continuing towards the 176.4 at 108.40. It could actually continue all the way down to around 108. Negative sentiment, no divergence, so I think we will actually see it dipping down there, and then we could see a bounce. There's some strong support in this region here around 108, 107.90. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it dipping below, but after this massive sell-off we have seen for quite some time, actually since the beginning of October and even before then, well, then we are ripe for a correction anytime soon. So I would be very hesitant to go in for a long position, at least for now, but then I will start thinking about maybe we should get a correction. So this double top is really unfolding at the moment, so keep an eye on around 108. That's going to be interesting in these levels there. I think the euro sterling, well, is still in this downtrend, hasn't taken out 83.10, but I think it will in a few days. However, if it does break above this falling trend line here, and especially back above 84, then we could see a larger correction to the upside. But you also have to take into account that 55 moving average, 100 moving average, 200 are declining. So I still think we are, if we're looking at the wheel chart, we are pushing lower in the coming weeks and months. Cable, below 130, close below yesterday, testing a little bit from the underside. I think we could test 129.37 here fairly short. It's not very strong, but if it does close below, and this is the key, if it does close below the 100 moving average and it get below the cloud, closes below the cloud area, well, then suddenly we have a complete different scenario, and there's a great likelihood to that to play out, because the RSI is below 40 threshold, indicating we are in a bearish trend, and it's confirmed, and we are likely to push lower. However, if it moves back above 131, then we could see a correction up to around 132, maybe even 132.50. Not really much going on in the yen pairs. They're basically just trading sideways in a very tight range here. Dollar yen around 149.40. Can't really make up its mind. I still want to see it break below 140.20 for downside potential. I still think we could see it trying to crawl higher towards 151.85, but it seems to be really a struggle. We have the 100 moving average now below the 200, but it's not what we call a death cross, because the 200 moving average is rising. So I'm just repeating myself, which I've been doing the past few days. We are trading sideways. Euro yen, well, more or less the same. It's drifting a little bit lower. 164 key strong resistance, 100 coming down there, moving average, and the 200 almost flat, and I think it will soon cross over, so that will give a little bit of a push from the other side. But the 55 moving average will give a little bit of support, so 161 could be key there. I think we'll be caught range bound there for quite some time between those two levels. Also, Aussie yen, well, dancing around 99.90 and 100. It really needs to take out 101.77, and it needs to take out 98 to the downside for any meaningful direction. The sterling yen also can't really get above 196. That is the key resistance, and the key support 191.70, but then we have the moving average giving some support there. Aussie dollar correction seems to find some support just above 66.40, but I think we could still see a bit of a dip down there. The RSI is a negative sentiment, and there is potential to test the 66.40, 66.20, 22. But the rising 55 moving average and the 100 is giving it a little bit, or trying to drag it a little bit higher again. And if this is the support right there, if it bounces back from around current levels, well, then the key resistance is at 67.69. So I will actually say 67.70 versus 38.2 retracement. If it does close above that, then uptrend is likely to resume. The dollar Canada, well, still in correction phase that could take it down to around 137, 136.78, around that, which is the 38.2 retracement. But we are in a bullish trend, so it's really hard to say exactly how deep a correction will be. There's a positive sentiment indicating likely higher levels. Sterling Canada really sold below the lower rising trend line there, and I think we could see it pushing towards the 176.80, which is key resistance. And what we could do to begin with, just add this Fibonacci here and then clean it up a little bit. Just we can see here it is just around the 61.8 retracement at 178.67, almost dipping down to the 786 and the 55 moving average. I think it will slide lower here in the coming days and possibly also dip to around 176.80. But let's see what it could. I mean, we are still in a bullish trend, but that it couldn't take out the previous peak there is a bit of a weakness. So it could come under further pressure. Euro-Swiss, well, still caught in this triangle-like pattern, so which I've been talking about for days now. It needs to break out of this triangle-like pattern here, symmetrical triangle, either bullish or bearish. I think it will be to the bearish side, but there is a downside risk, of course. But if it breaks out to the downside, well, then it could drop to a 92.5, maybe even lower. If it breaks out to the bullish side, there's really strong overhead resistance at 95, where we have the 100 moving average coming down. Dollar Swiss is continuing higher and has reached the 786 retracement here at 86.69, and I think it will keep moving higher towards 87.30, 87.50, around that level, where we have a little bit of quite a bit of a resistance, and the RSI is positive sentiment indicating likely higher levels, so it could also break these resistance there and move all the way up to 88.25. The dollar index has reached 103.36, key resistance. I think we'll see a little bit of a correction, but there is potential higher to 104.25, but I think we'll see a little bit of a correction that could set it back, because it's a fairly strong resistance around this level here, but we are likely to push higher if we see a minor correction. Gold is pushing higher and is testing all-time highs just a few cents below. And let's zoom in here so we can actually see what's going on. As we see, all-time high 26.85 and 64, very close to that. It almost touched it, and I think we'll push higher. RSI is now building up, so it is a little bit up on the air, but I think we will get the divergence on the RSI uptrend. It's stressed, but there should be potential to push higher to 2700, maybe even 2717, 2736. But let's see later today. I think there is a ECB interest rate decision that could maybe push a lot of these instruments and asset class that we have been talking about, especially euro dollar and gold, and also of course the equities market. Silver seems to be bouncing, but got rejected just around $32, setting back a little bit, and I think we'll still be caught in this range here around between 31 and 32 and a change. It really needs to take out 32, 35 for further upside potential. I think a little bit longer term that it will push higher, but for now I would stay on the sideline a little bit. Copper Copper is at the 61.8 retracement at 432.68. Tested it once again, just a few pips from it, and I think it will test it again. And there is risk down to the 786 retracement at 420.15. There is risk down to that. However, if it bounces off from here and starts moving towards and above 449.90, so 450, I would say, well, then the bullish trend has resumed. WTI crude oil, well, is still hovering around the $70 and above the this falling trend line here. If it breaks below it, then a downtrend is likely to resume, and it has resumed actually, but it will intensify the sell-off down to around 65 level. If it can move back above 72, 40, 41, then I think we'll see a push up to around 75. But as you can see here, the 55 moving average will give a pressure from the upper side, and also the 100 moving average. So I think we'll see crude oil, WTI pushing lower in the coming days and weeks. Same picture on Brent Crude, of course, and we are still below 75.15, and the 55 moving average will drag on it. But again, if it does close above 75.15, we could see a little bit of bounce up to around 77.50, maybe a little bit higher, but there's really some strong upper resistance. However, the RSI both on WTI and Brent crude oil is still showing positive sentiment. It needs to close below 40 to reverse that. So that is what you should keep an eye on the next couple of days. On the Treasury yields, well, Treasury yields, US 10 years Treasury yields, after got rejected here at 414, 413.5. We are in a correction phase that could take it down to around 392, maybe a little bit lower. If it takes out 414, well, then there's potential up to around 428, 430. The 2-year, well, more or less the same picture really. I would say it hit 4% smack bang on, and we are in a correction phase, and I think it could dip down to around 380. But if it takes out 4%, it's probably also taking out the 406 and likely pushing higher towards 4.25. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day, and talk to you again tomorrow.